Marcus Rashford is in absolutely explosive form right now. He has scored 14 goals in the Premier League this season and does not look like he's going to go a game without scoring. However, last season we saw a very, very different Marcus Rashford. And why is that? Well, in this video, we're going to explore Marcus Rashford's downturn in form last year. And what we're going to do is we're going to compare that with this season. We're going to give reasons for why Erik has helped in this development, and also why Marcus Rashford has helped himself in this development. But before we get into it, if you do enjoy the content, hit that like button down below. Also, smack that subscribe button, and yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to deep dive into what went wrong for Marcus Rashford last season, because 12 months ago, you look at the form that he is putting out right now, it is polar opposite to what we saw last year from Marcus Rashford. So the first thing I wanted to do was pull up Marcus Rashford's stats from the last few years. Now, as you can obviously see, the first couple of years he's breaking onto the scene. That's normal for every player to have a lower goals and assist count. But the main thing that I want to look at is from that kind of 2018-19 period onto 2021-22. Now, as you can see, in the 2018-19 and the 2019-20 season, you can see he has 10 and 17 goals, 6 and 7 assists in both of those seasons. Fairly consistent. You even look at the seasons before, it's a natural progression for a young footballer's career to go up in those stats. And 2019-20 is when we kind of saw the Marcus Rashford that we thought was going to evolve into the next level. And in the 2021 season, we actually saw Marcus Rashford start that year very consistently. Again, he looked like he was going to produce very similar numbers to what we saw in the season before. However, if you looked at the rest of the season, he had about a 6-month period of that season, or half the season, we should say, where he just did not turn up and had a very similar season to what you see in the 21-22. And as you can see in that season, it's the worst season of his career by far. 4 goals, 2 assists. And he also finished, as I said before, the 2021 season with a very similar type of form in which he carried out in the last season. But when you look at his stats this season, you can see the 14 goals. He's only 3 off of his best ever tally in the Premier League. Obviously, there was a major dip in Marcus Rashford in that year and a half, and I want to explore further why that was. And I wanted to bring something to light that maybe a lot of people don't know about Marcus Rashford, but he very openly came out and talked about his mental health struggles from that period of time where he did have that dip in form. As he said, I think to be honest it is a completely different energy around the club and training ground that puts me in a better headspace. I feel really motivated. I struggled mentally and with things off the pitch. That's the biggest difference. That's what Marcus Rashford said. And I wanted to break that down a little bit more because I think one of the maybe lesser things that people talk about in football these days that many people don't give the credit I think that it probably deserves in terms of performance based. I think a lot of people like to go into the tactics and stuff like that. And I mean, I love it. You know, I'm about to go into the tactics, but I do think that confidence and your mental health and your mental well-being is very, very important at the top level of sport. The reason why is because that fraction, that split second that you're not focused or you're not switched on, that can be the difference. That can be the difference between you getting a goal or missing a chance. And this is the difference between the top players and the non-top players, let's say. They don't switch off for a second, these top players. They are so on the ball. They are so mentally focused on what they need to do and what they need to be doing. It's a different level. And I think that's one of the big things that Marcus Rashford suffered from last year, is that he wasn't switched on. He wasn't enjoying his football. He obviously was suffering with things off the pitch. We don't know what they were, but I think that if it's going to seep into your work life and your work mental well-being, I think it's got to be a pretty significant thing that was affecting Marcus Rashford. But yeah, I think that's one of the big reasons why Marcus Rashford has had his big turn in form this season. I think it's confidence. I think it's having the belief and in your ability to take players on and take a shot and hit it with the right technique. And another part of it for me is what I said before about being switched on, being mentally focused in the game. I think that's one thing that he's added to his game this season. And when we look at it, you can see his new celebration, right? And it's trending everywhere. Everyone is talking about the celebration that Marcus Rashford is doing. But for me, I look at this and I think this is a guy that is clearly switched on and focused. And that's what the whole celebration gives me. It gives me that vibe of I'm switched on, I'm focused, I'm on it now. Like, I'm on it. And when it comes to performance, I think that's a big thing that we should look at. But what I want to also take a look at is the tactical side of things. And yes, of course, we know that he is talented. Yes, we can see that he has become more focused and more confident in his football. However, one of the things that I want to look at is how Erik ten Hag has also helped this. Because there's no doubt for me that Erik ten Hag has also been a big reason in why Manchester United, first of all, are improving. And second of all, I think he is a big reason of Marcus Rashford. And one of the key things I think that maybe ten Hag has got a hold of Rashford is in terms of mentally keeping him focused, keeping him stimulated. I think that Erik ten Hag has probably worked on Rashford in that tense, I'd say. But when you look at Erik ten Hag's formation on a tactical basis, this is how they lined up in their last match. It's obviously not the direct formation, but as you can see, Dalot is this kind of position. Shaw inverts into the midfield. Weghorst is deeper. Bruno's on the right. Rashford is more of the left-sided forward in this role. And you can see Fred and Sabitzer are also the deeper lying midfielders. This is how Erik ten Hag has set up. These are the average positions that they've occupied in their last match. That's where I've got it from. And as I said, you can see Marcus Rashford is very specifically in this forward area, and he is consistently making runs in this channel right here. And this is why I think that Rashford has had a massive upturn in form. Previously, you would see Cristiano Ronaldo occupy more of the forward areas. This is not criticism of Ronaldo. I'm a big fan of Ronaldo. But just in terms of a tactical basis, it's much harder for Rashford to get into these positions and get goal-scoring opportunities when Cristiano is in there taking up a lot of the opportunities himself. Ronaldo, he's a poacher. He had to be in these kind of areas to pick up the chances. That's what Ronaldo brings to a team. He brings goals. Marcus Rashford also brings goals. Now, this is where the collision between the two collides for me. Marcus Rashford, for me, is not an out-and-out winger. You can't play him wide. You have to have him making those runs across defenders into the box. He's kind of that perfect style winger in a Jurgen Klopp system, kind of like Sadio Mane, who would make those inverted runs in central and pick up goal-scoring positions inside the box and also positions to be able to create goals as well. So when Weghorst drops deeper and links more play in, it gives Rashford more freedom to be able to run into this kind of channel here. Weghorst is in the central, Garnacho provides the width, Luke Shaw helps out the midfield. It's a very, very balanced and strong system that Erik ten Hag has deployed. Also occupying this area is Bruno Fernandes out wide. Now Dalot, when he gets into attack, runs obviously into this kind of channel here. And Bruno Fernandes is able to pick up this place, a very similar place to where Kevin De Bruyne picks up for Manchester City and whips those crosses in. Bruno Fernandes is occupying very similar areas. He's also drifting in field as well. But Weghorst is allowing a lot of this play to happen for Man United. And before, that was Martial as well. But when we're looking at the actual tactical setup for Manchester United, I think it's very in favour of allowing Marcus Rashford to get into those dangerous areas and get goal-scoring opportunities. And also another key thing to note about Rashford is he's bulked up this season. He's put on weight. You can see he's a physically stronger, bigger man. And he's not lost an ounce of pace. He's not lost an ounce of pace. His finishing has seemed to develop, but I think, again, that's another thing that's come with confidence with him. He's never been a bad finisher. He's always been a goal scorer, Marcus Rashford. Even from when he came on the scene, he was scoring goals. So he's always had that finishing. It's always just been about confidence for Rashford. And now we have a confident, fit, mentally focused Marcus Rashford in a system that's designed to make him chances. And I think that's why we're seeing the Marcus Rashford that we are currently getting right now. Will he keep up this level of goal-scoring form? It's unknown. I mean, Rashford's literally scoring goals every single game at the moment. It's quite frightening. But all I know is that this goal scoring is not likely to stop. It might dry up slightly more. I think he's hit a purple patch. But it depends. Is Marcus Rashford better than we think? And that's a real big question. Is he better than we think? Because obviously, players can go into this type of form for 6 months or so, where they're just untouchable, top class, finishing every chance they get, looking confident. That's something that we've seen before. However, if Marcus Rashford carries this goal-scoring form into next season, and provides a top goal scoring season next season, we could be looking at Marcus Rashford being one of the best forward players in Europe. So to recap over the 3 points that I've made across this video of why I believe Marcus Rashford has seen this upturn of form, the first point is that his mental well-being is in a very, very strong place. He seems to have escaped that period of time where he wasn't at his most confident, and his overall life was just being impacted by his mental state. Number 2 would be the psychological reform of his mentality. I think that you're seeing a very focused Marcus Rashford, and I think you're seeing one that is not switching off in games. He's staying on it. And I think the third and most important factor towards this Marcus Rashford reform is Erik ten Hag and the role he's given him within the side. I think that Weghorst dropping into central areas, Bruno occupying areas where he can cross the ball in and put balls on the plate for Rashford. You also see Rashford coming more central and making those runs and being the highest player on the pitch. I think it's all designed perfectly for Rashford to thrive. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Marcus Rashford's reform, both on an emotional, psychological and tactical basis. Let me know what you guys think down below. And as always, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching. Peace.